Welcome back to the Significant Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Rogers. As I look back on our first two seasons of the show, I'm honestly blown away by the caliber of leaders who've shared their time and wisdom with me, and with all of you. Coaches and athletes from NCAA Division I, II, and III, NAI, and the junior college ranks have joined us, representing 31 NCAA National Championships, 2 former NFL players, 4 standout student athletes, 3 college athletic directors, and 4 university presidents, and countless other coaches who have dominated their division levels and conferences for years. These conversations have been rich, humbling, and deeply meaningful. I've learned so much, and I'm grateful for every lesson and every story that has helped shape this community. With that said, this week's guest has surpassed them all. Mike Candrea is the former head softball coach at the University of Arizona. In 2021, he turned his program over to one of the great Wildcats who once played for him, Olympian Caitlin Lowe. And coach transitioned into mentoring and administrative roles within the U of A athletic department, but not before completing 34 years on the sidelines in Arizona, compiling a career record of 1,674 wins to only 436 losses and 2 ties. Total career wins are 1,858, and that includes 8 NCAA National Championships at U of A. He also led the USA Olympic softball team to gold in Athens in 2004 and the silver medal in Beijing in 2008. And honestly, I could spend an entire episode just listing his accomplishments, the All-Americans and the Olympians he's coached. To put his career in context, there is really only one coach in the history of NCAA team sports who rivals Coach Candrea, and that's the legendary John Wooden, who claimed 10 national championships at UCLA. That's the neighborhood Mike Candrea lives in. It is truly rare air. It was a true honor to spend time with him. He humored me by getting deep in the weeds about the state of the NCAA, the transfer portal, NIL, and the future of college sports. And I expect it will take about 5 minutes for our listeners to understand why he is one of the great leaders in the history of college and international athletics. I'm confident you will take as much from Coach as I did. Before we jump into today's conversation, I encourage you to check out CoachMattRogers.com for all of our episodes, my blogs, and recruiting and coaching tools and resources, including my book, Significant Recruiting, the Playbook for Prospective College Athletes, and my new companion workbook, the Softball Recruits Journal. If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to follow, share, or comment on your platform of choice. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Hall of Fame coach, Mike Candrea. Coach Candrea, so great to see you, and thanks for being on the show.
It's my pleasure, Matt.
I know you're a grandpa and you love the golf. How quickly did you get rid of that interim AD hat when the new VP was hired?
Yeah, it was, thank God, it was like 5 weeks. Every day felt like a month, but I survived it and kept the ship afloat and kept it going in the right direction and didn't have to throw anyone overboard. So it was a very good experience for me.
I bet it was. I did that AD role for about 9 years at the lower levels at D3 and D2, and it just never stops. You never get a breather.
It's a crazy world today. It's completely different than it was when I started coaching in 1976. Let's put it that way. They don't look the same.
No, they don't.
Sure.
You and I share a good friend in Wade Wilson, the head coach at Lutheran. He introduced us. I love watching coaches like Wade and you coach. I don't know if you remember saying this, but I read somewhere that you didn't want to have a program where scaring the kids was your culture, but you wore your feelings on your sleeve. You coach with passion. It was a calling, like I believe it is for me. Can you still coach that way? Can you still coach with discipline, and can you get away with it today with the portal and everything else?
Yeah, I think if the good ones right now still, it's all about relationships. That will always be the foundation of anything that you do. So that hasn't changed. I just think sometimes how you go about getting to the end result has changed a little bit. When I first started coaching, kids were very task oriented, and You tell them to jump through a hoop and they jump through a hoop. Today, they like to ask a lot of questions. And so you have to convince them that hoop that they're jumping through is the right one and it's best for them.
Yeah.
And then I think just the information system that we're in today has changed so much. Kids can have at their fingertips so much information, and they don't really know whether it's good information or not. And so that's the challenge, because with social media now, and you can go on YouTube and you can watch 1,000 different golf swings, but you don't know whether you're getting good information or not. So sometimes it tends to be an obstacle as far as coaches are concerned. But I think the good ones today, they build relationships that are built around trust, mutual respect, and honesty. I think they have to get to know the kid first before they can push the kid. They're all a little bit different. Some need a hug, some need a kick in the ass, but at the end of the day, that hasn't changed. When I first started coaching, you had to figure out what made each kid work. And I think the aha moment for me was to coach the person first, and then the athlete can come out.
Yeah.
If I can make them better people, then I think I can have a better chance of making them a better athlete, but you can't do the reverse.
I agree. I'm with you there. Coach, I'm one of those people that likes to tackle and attempt to solve those impossible problems of the world. I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment. Can we talk a little bit about club softball?
Yeah. Club softball was the foundation for my success.
Right.
If I look back, everything that we recruited was from the clubs. And luckily, I had some really good relationships with some really good coaches.
Right.
That did things the right way. And I knew that when I brought a kid into my program that they were going to be probably ready to compete at this level. And so that was good. But I also have seen the other side of the coin where parents are spending so much money on trying to make their kids a player that they no longer think that the kid needs to earn the scholarship, that they deserve the scholarship.
They feel like they've already paid for it.
They've already paid for it. And I always told parents, really, if you want to, put all your money in your bank account and you can send your kid to any school that they want to go to versus spending this money, because it is different. And I think the one aspect that I've seen in club softball today is it's become all about the money.
Yeah.
I wonder how much, and there's still good ones, don't get me wrong. There's still coaches that I highly respect and teach the game and teach the skills, but there are a lot of them out there that are forcing families to spend a heck of a lot of money and not getting anything in return. Are they getting better? Who knows? And to me, that was the most important thing for me is go play for a team that you know will develop your kid, develop their skills, develop them as people, and it doesn't really matter whether you're playing for championships or not, because at that level, it's all about learning how to play the game and playing the game the right way. Then as you move up the ladder, then yes, the winning becomes even more important. I kind of laugh sometimes because I see these posts of these kids at 12 years old with a handful of rings. And I'm wondering, man, what are we teaching these kids? Because what do I have at the college level to dangle in front of them? The carrot's gone. It's no longer just about winning a championship and being part of a great team. It's about self-satisfaction. What can you do for me?
Yeah. I wrote a blog a couple of weeks ago that was something about prayers, knowing when your prayers have been answered. And that's my biggest concern, because when I work with kids and parents every day, and when I speak, it's typically to parents and the high school and club coaches. And my concern is what I'm hearing is, I just got a text today from a kid, wants to transfer. He's got a D3 coach, just saw him in the portal, sent him a text and said, I think you are a great influence for our team. I think you're a difference maker, not just on the field, but for who we are as a culture. And the kid texts me and goes, how do I respond to this coach that I'm not interested?
Yeah.
We start this journey as parents, and I've got a 16 and a 12-year-old. And really, our goal is I want my kid to enjoy the sport. I want him to get something out of it that's profound, being on a team, understanding what that work ethic and accountability and loyalty, what that's all about. And then we dream about them getting an offer from a coach.
Right.
We're saying, we like you. We want you to be a part of our family. How do we get back to that? Is the genie on the bottle? Are we never going to get back to that where kids appreciate when someone appreciates them?
That's a good question. And I really don't have a good answer for it because things have changed so much where it's not about the school. It's not about the opportunity to be a part of a team and learn to go through adversity and grow as a person and get prepared for life after softball. It's just about what do you have for me right now? And that would be a tough arena for me to coach in right now because I was so used to, even I retired in 21. So even up to that point, that was right before NIL, right before the transfer portal. And I had kids for 4 years. And I had a lot of kids that didn't play a lot their freshman year, but they continued to grow and they ended up being a big part of a championship or a big part of some success. And I think those days are long gone because right now if I'm not playing, because it's about playing. If I'm not playing, then I'm leaving. And unfortunately, there's third parties out there that are already negotiating for these kids so that they already have a place before they even leave. And it's an ugly situation right now. And I don't know.
Always there, even though it was illegal back then in 20 before. Was it always there for you though? Was there always kids that were working with a third party, even though they were?
I think the third party at that time was not trying to influence a kid to transfer and to move. Maybe they were trying to help them navigate through this experience as a college athlete. I don't recall that. We had some kids transfer for particular reasons. Maybe it's getting back close to home or something happened at home and they need to be closer to mom and dad. Or they just didn't fit in and they're not getting a lot of playing time. I understand that. I get that. But I don't like the negotiating prior to kids today that are All-Americans that are leaving, that have had a good experience for 3 years. And that alarms me a little bit. It's funny because I love our homecoming and I love alumni games, and pretty soon those are going to be non-existent because these kids don't even have a place.
Or they played 1 year and that was it. They played 1 year for a coach in the school and they graduated, and they had a senior night after 1 year. Yeah, it's wild to me.
Or they've gone to 4 schools in 4 years. What are you learning from that other than to run away from your problems, run away from adversity, run away from the challenge? And to me, I think that's one of the greatest things that we have to offer kids is to learn how to be a part of a team and learn how to handle adversity, learn how to better yourself each and every day and to earn the opportunity to be successful. We talk about earning the right to handle pressure. Right now, I don't know how many kids are earning the right to be a part of a team.
I agree.
They're looking for the open door, and it's not the cash. It's not money. In softball right now, I can tell you right now, there may be a little money out there, but it's not life-changing money. Now, if you look at men's football and men's basketball, that's life-changing money that I understand why they're shopping, because they have a very small window for many of those kids, a very small window to make that opportunity happen because they're probably not going to play professional football or basketball. But softball it's changed so much. I go back to 1985 when I first got to Arizona, man, those kids were playing the game just to play the game.
That's right.
For the enjoyment of playing softball, because as women, they didn't have that opportunity. That was their first opportunity to have a scholarship.
That's right.
And to have a field that was theirs. Where today now that's all a given. It's a given that they have a scholarship. It's a given that they're going to have a great facility. So now they're looking for the next thing on their list. And God knows for every kid, it's a little bit different. But to me, it's just a different environment right now. It takes me back to my junior college days where you recruited 1 year at a time. That's what it's like right now.
I think that's the toughest job in all of college sports. Don't you?
Yeah.
When you got to bring in a kid. I love being a 4-year coach because I had a year to develop. Maybe halfway through the sophomore year, I was like, okay, I've got them thinking the right way. I can use them more and more. And my senior year, their work ethic was built in. Junior college coaches, you got to do it now.
Yeah, in fact, that was my upbringing. So it taught me that mindset. But then I fell in love with the 4-year school and having a kid for 4 years and see the progress that they make. I mean, you got to think about it. You're bringing a kid in that's 17, 18 years old. They're a kid.
Yeah.
And then they leave you as a woman. And to me, that was one of the most magnificent things to look at with the opportunities that I had to watch kids grow. And to me, that was my prize at the end was, God, this young lady is ready to go out and do anything they want to do and be successful because of what they've learned about competing and
That's
about
right.
being part of a team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's changed.
And that's the part for me, because I have a daughter. I coach women, I coached men.
Yep.
I did it for both for a long time. And I love the fact that we're getting closer to some level of equity where we have young women fighting for
Yep.
what the men have always gotten.
Sure.
So I really respect that and I appreciate that. But we're already a little getting off track with the NIL and where that's headed. I know you have a wonderful new vice president for athletics, and I know you're a special assistant to her. And I'm not asking deep into your conversations, but talk a little bit for the families and the high school coaches that are listening to this, because there's so much unknown that's coming. We're hearing 10 different stories every week about where this is going to go with the NCAA, with Power Four, and then everything's going to trickle down. I'm talking to D3 athletic directors and presidents right now that are telling me that there are collectives happening, NIL collectives happening at the D3 level in certain
Wow.
areas.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit and be as specific as you want or as general as you want. What are some of the big picture conversations you're having on where you want University of Arizona athletics to go and how you want to be a part of the leadership of that future?
I think the first thing that comes to mind right now is the revenue share. $20.5 million to open up your doors is a pretty significant amount of money that we have to raise. Yeah, some of that might come from media rights, but truthfully, a lot of that comes from donors, comes from people that love your programs, that have followed your program. And what I'm seeing right now is a little bit of donor fatigue. They enjoyed it when they were donating money and putting in bricks and mortar and watching facilities grow. But to be able to say that you need money to give a kid who may not be there, but only a year, to come up with this $1 million, whatever it is getting a little bit difficult. And so I think right now things are going to change. They're going to change. What today is going to be different 3 years from now. Conference realignment is the big deal. I think there's going to be a few that are playing for the marbles, and there's going to be a bunch of us that are just going to be fighting like hell to survive. And the one thing we wanted to do is not cut any programs. We didn't want to cut any people. We didn't want to cut any programs. And Desiree's done a great job of taking a deficit that we had when she arrived, $30 million, down to $5 million. And after end of this year, we will be even. But now we have another challenge, and that is revenue share, NIL. I think NIL is better off today than it was last year because of the collectives are gone. Now it's got to be a legitimate NIL deal. And there's a clearinghouse that's approving anything over $600. So all I want is I want a level playing field. I want to know what the rules are. And I think up until right now, we really didn't know what the rules were. The last few years, it was the Wild Wild West, where I think we're getting closer now to at least knowing what the rules are. And if you want to play at this level, then this is what you're going to have to do to play at this level. If you don't, then you don't have to do that. You don't have to invest $20.5 million. But here's the scary part for me. In the past, I always told people, if you want to help softball, buy season football tickets, because they were the engine that provided the revenue for all other sports. Football, men's basketball were the only two revenue producers that we had. And we have 22 sports, I think, at this point, that two sports are trying to fund all of these opportunities for all of these kids. What scares me is now $20.5 million we're coming up for football and basketball and a few other sports. I'm scared that we're going to be losing sports. the Olympic sports are going to gain less than they were 5 years from now because there's such a premium on raising that 20.5. Football is going to get the majority of it. Men's basketball is going to get a pretty good chunk of it. And then you have to select who's going to be involved in the revenue share. And at Arizona, we're women's basketball, of course. I think around the country, most people are putting money into women's basketball. And then it's a crapshoot. Some people, for us, it's baseball and softball.
Right.
Because those are sports that we can at least put people in the seats and maybe bring some revenue back. But the thing that was scary about it all was that, are we going to be cutting sports? Because you see it every day, people that are dropping sports because they can't afford it. They can't afford to fund these sports at a particular level to compete for a national championship. And so you're going to have a couple of choices. Number one, are you going to fund the sports? Number two, at what level? So back in the day, we were, whether we knew it or not, we were kind of regionalized. Softball, you could play anyone that you wanted to as long as you could travel in vans.
That's how I grew up as a coach.
You're pretty much playing in the West Coast. Now it's coast to coast. Now we have grown so much that there's opportunities from the East Coast to the West Coast. And we have conferences now that include people from the West Coast to the East Coast. And the amount of travel that it takes, the money that it takes to travel these teams across country to have a competition, you're going to have to decide, is it worth it? For football is the easy one. They don't play a lot of games. But when you're talking about a baseball program or a softball program, when you're playing 56 games, there's a price tag that goes along with this conference realignment.
Right.
In traveling cross country. So I think a lot of those answers are going to be looked at and reviewed. And I think yesterday, we named our football stadium for naming rights, $60 million. And those are the things that we have to do right now to compete and to keep our head above water.
But that's tangible.
Yes.
Giving $500,000 to a second string wide receiver that you hope becomes a first string wide receiver, it's so intangible. I don't know, if I had $1 billion, I'd have a hard time giving you money to give it to something that's intangible. So that's my concern. Play with me with this. Is there a reason, with all the money that's coming in from TV, and we have profit sharing, and we went through all these lawsuits that the kids brought, and the NCAA was buried under billions of dollars of lawsuits. Is there a reason we're not just saying we're going to pay these kids as employees? We're going to give every kid $2,500 a month. And maybe the longer you're there, it goes up. Maybe it goes from $2,000 to $2,500. But it's money where you can go buy clothes, you can go to the movies, you can have a car, maybe you can afford an apartment. Is there a reason we're not funneling all of our energy in that direction? Or we're saying we're going to do some profit sharing. Every kid's going to get a little piece. Is there a reason we're not putting all of our energy into that? Because I would have loved that. If someone who said, Matt, we're going to pay for your education and give you $2,000 a month at 18, I would have done a backflip for it.
Absolutely. In fact, early on, it was just a scholarship and kids were tickled to death that they were getting their education paid for. And then, I understand it when you start looking at the $1 billion deals that the NCAA has contracted for men's basketball, for instance, the tournament. Right. And Ced Dempsey was a really good friend of mine. He was an AD at Arizona and went on to be the president of the NCAA. And I got a chance to listen to him about some of the challenges. And it's just, there's not a perfect world out there. And the reason why is because, here's my thought. It's not a perfect world because even today, with the media rights, they're all different. So the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, the poor Pac-12 just disintegrated because of that one fact right there.
That's got to hurt your heart, doesn't it?
It's a killer. It is absolutely a killer.
That was your world.
That was my world. That's the world I knew.
You had to look forward to those 2 plane trips to Washington, Oregon.
Hey, it was a conference of champions. And if that was the important thing, we were flourishing. But unfortunately, it became a money thing. And trying to keep up with the Joneses is awfully tough. So here's my thought is if you look at the model of the NBA and MLB,
Yeah.
it- they're, they don't have as much product to sell to TV as college football does.
Right.
So you would think, why didn't college football just combine everything, sign this one big package, and then disseminate the money accordingly? But it's never got to that point yet because of the challenges with each conference. And so this is the first step. The revenue share, I think, is the first step of at least giving us some rules to say, this is what it's going to be like. I think it's going to continue to change.
Yeah.
We have yet seen the final version of what this is all going to look like. But I still think, man, if you look at Saturday mornings, college football, man, there's so much inventory there.
There is.
And I don't think that we've cashed in on it as much as we could, but I don't know the answers. I'm not sitting in the room that's making these big decisions.
I miss the days where you could count on Arizona and USC. You could count on Arizona State, UCLA. You just knew that was going to be your rotation, and it was regional. So if you did want to travel, it was short flight, but like you said, you could get in a van, you could get in a car, and you could.
Absolutely.
And those competition was great. I don't understand why ESPN and Fox and all these corporations aren't going, listen, let's get back to that. We're going to be equal. We still want UCLA to play Ohio State. We still want Michigan to play Texas. I don't understand why the TV people aren't saying, let's get back to the regional stuff. And you can dump more money into regional, can't you?
The reason why they don't right now is because they need the matchups. If you look at college basketball right now, for the first time, you look at the matchups of college basketball early in the season, they've been unbelievable. We are playing tomorrow at UConn.
Yeah.
We just played in Las Vegas. We just played in LA against UCLA.
Yeah, it's going to draw a big number.
We played in Las Vegas against Florida. That was Tommy's openers. And so I think that might be a little bit of what's ahead. And here's the other thought, too. Pretty soon you're going to see these big programs put together a tournament where they're going to make money, that the money's going to the players.
Yeah.
I don't think we're too far from that happening. You take eight of the best teams in the country, you play 4 different sites, and then you play like a pool play. So you play one game in Seattle, one game in Vegas, one game in Chicago, and then the winners play in New York. And the money from that goes to the teams to divvy up. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know all what's happening.
I'm not either, and I don't ever get into these conversations expecting that we're gonna solve the world. I like having the conversation because, for me, if we don't have the conversation, it's just like politics. If we don't have the conversation, we don't ever get out of the slump we're in.
Absolutely.
So, I'm going to be a little bit of the old man on my lawn telling the kids to get off. But is there hope for you that education's ever going to be a part of the conversation, that we're going to care about the classroom again? Because no matter what we say, when UCLA's got to go to Maryland to play a conference game, something's wrong.
The good thing is that COVID taught us that we could do a lot of things online.
Yeah.
It's amazing. If you look at the statistics right now of different sports and the percentage of online classes those kids are taking so that they can travel.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the elements that you're seeing right now. Our baseball or softball, probably 70% of the classes they take are online.
Have to.
Which frees up their schedule. So, yeah, and I think we're too proud as a university to not say, here's the interesting thing. In the 80s, I remember like our GPA, man, if we had a 2.8 GPA as a team, I was ecstatic. That's pretty good. If you look at today's GPAs, they're all in the threes, 3.3, 3.6. And I always say, have we made school easier or what? But there's still a premium put on our education with our student athletes. Because even if you have the NIL thing is great, but you have to educate kids. Now that they're getting this money, you have to educate them. So they need some financial literacy on how to deal with taxes and everything else.
Yeah.
So
Are
it's
you guys doing that?
yes, we are.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What does that look like?
I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I do know that we spend a lot of time and energy on educating our student athletes. And whether it's, we have what's called the CATS program, the Center for the Athlete's Total Success.
Love that.
We've had that that was Sid Dempsey's vision, and we had that for many years. But now it's expanded. It used to be about resume writing. It used to be about making sure every kid knew how to interview, prepare them for life after their sport.
Of course.
But now we've added this other element, and that is financial literacy. If we're paying you money, we need you to make sure you understand how to deal with this money.
Yes.
It's like giving an 18-year-old a Ferrari. Bad things are going to happen.
Absolutely. Could you see a world, Coach, where NIL goes into a fund for when they're done, where they have some time to grow that money? And
Would I like to see that? Yes. Will it happen? I don't know.
I am the scout.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of challenges that I don't even know and that you don't know. That why are these kids not employees of the university? There's reasons for it.
I agree. And I don't want it to go that way. I'm not a proponent of that.
No.
I don't want to lose the idea of student athlete. And maybe I'm hanging on
No.
to things that are unrealistic, but
I know at Arizona, we take pride in the student part,
yeah.
and we provide a lot of resources for them to be successful academically. And I think if you look around the country, I think everyone's doing that. Every university at that level is putting a lot of money into making sure that their kids are being successful, not just on the athletic field, but in the classroom.
It's hard to look in your faculty in the eye if you're a president or a chancellor, if you're not, right?
Very tough.
How important was it for you that classroom experience, though, and the resident hall experience, and having that true college experience, learning how to deal with conflict, learning how to deal with chaos, learning how to deal with a roommate that didn't do what they were supposed to? Where is that in your eyes? Or is it still there in the power?
It's still there. Yeah, I think it's still there to a point. We still have some kids that are living in dorms and getting the college experience that we were used to seeing back then. But on the other hand, we have a lot of people now that are kind of skipping that. And they've got their own apartment and they have resources to do things that we never did. I remember when I went to college, my dad gave me $20, said, good luck. And I said, is that for the week? He goes, no, that's it. That's all you're getting. You're going to learn how to figure it out because if you're going to be successful, it's up to you. And I think today we used to have helicopter parents, and then we went to the bulldozer parents where they're bulldozing the kid's path. And so things have changed, but there's some parts of it that I think are the same. I mean, there's nothing better than a Saturday afternoon football game. And they always talk about athletics being the front door of the university, and I still think that's very true. I remember when Lute won the first basketball championship here, the enrollment went up by 30%. And you look at Alabama in the enrollment there, you can look at Nick Saban, what he's done for that university.
Yeah.
And I think you see those stories all over the country. So college athletics is still a high priority, and I think will be around for a long time. It's just going to take a different shape, a different form.
Yeah.
But it's still entertainment, and it's still people having something that connects them.
Yeah.
And for us, there's nothing better than a college football game to connect everyone on campus.
I agree. I want to transition a little bit, and this is a good transition for what you've been talking about. You coached elite players. You coached Olympic gold medalist players, and then you coached those everyday role players, those grit and grind kids that you just loved having a part of your program. What separates that athlete who becomes a pro in life, not going to make money as a softball player, but what separates them, the kids that you've seen that left your program that have gone on and done really well in life. They're healthy, they're happy. Where's that line, and where's some of those characteristics for those kids?
Well, if I look at the Olympians, for instance, there's one common thread for every one of those kids, and that they're great teammates.
Yeah.
So they get it that they're not going to do it by themselves. It's going to take a village to make it happen. And they learn how to take care of those people in their village. And I think that is a big difference, because they know how to utilize their village moving forward in life. And they're good connectors. They're obviously they're competitive. And I think that's a huge fact. I don't know of anyone that's going to be highly successful unless they are competitive. But at the end of the day, they know what it's like to be a part of something that's bigger than them.
Yeah.
And I always looked at those kids every day and I marveled at them. I'm going, what makes them so special? And I'd always say, they got great eyes. Yeah, they got great eyes. They're hitting a 72-mile-an-hour pitch from 38 feet. Talk about tough. But the biggest thing that you saw was their work ethic, their being great teammates, understanding the process, very process oriented. Because you know what, when you're playing on the Olympic team, you're practicing for 4 years for 1 week of competition. Talk about learning how to deal with the process. That's it. You have to put yourself in that Olympic arena as often as possible. And sometimes you have to make those up during practice. You have to make practice. And so all the little things that they have to do, I think, highly prepares them for success once they're done.
Was there anything harder for you than picking those 18 people to be a part of that team? Have you ever had a bigger challenge?
Luckily, we had a selection committee. I mean,
At the end of the day,
I was one vote. I was one vote. But yes, you're splitting hairs. Truthfully, you are splitting the hairs. There's, I'm sure, others that maybe didn't get the opportunity that could have done quite well.
Yeah.
And that all the time. And I think that's still a challenge right now, is trying to find 18 of the best players in the world, because in the United States, most of our softball players are the best in the world. Until Kiko Ueno came in and beat us in 2008, right?
Yeah.
Japan's phenomenal to watch. They are meticulous about their preparation. There's not a team that practices more than them.
Yeah.
And to me, it's their mindset. They are so prepared for whatever's going to come their way. And I think we took from them opportunities to do the same thing with our program.
Right.
2004 was the first time that we actually had an Olympic team be able to train full time to prepare for the Olympic Games.
Huge
Because
difference.
before that, it was just they would do their thing, and then you'd bring them together for a camp, and then you would go play in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting part. The other interesting part is that the average age was 27 years old. So
Huge.
the maturity
Absolutely.
is something you can't teach. And that's why that's the difference between coaching with the Olympic team and coaching your college team.
Yeah.
The experience factor.
I was I was a soft, lazy kid till I was about 14 years old. And I had no idea I was. I thought I was a good athlete. And then my parents bought this tiny little restaurant. I grew up in a town of 2,000 people. We bought a restaurant. And I all of a sudden was up at 6:30, cleaning floors, bathrooms, bringing up big tubs of ice from the basement 5 times. I was working a grill for 8-9 hours at a time.
Wow.
And then I was mopping and cleaning up afterwards. In our little restaurant, we'd serve 800 people on a Saturday morning.
Wow.
And it was at that point, as frustrated I was with the work and having to do it, there's nothing I appreciate more than those 4 years working in that restaurant and who it made me.
Mm-hmm.
How much, when you look at the Olympians and the All-Americans and the national championships you've coached, how much of that comes from the parents or but how much of it comes from those kids just allowing themselves to get over that hump, get through that governor that's slowing them down and understanding, here's my potential. Is there a nature-nurture balance there?
I think you hit a couple things. Number one, the parents play a big factor.
Yeah.
Because I think when I recruited, I always went to the home to see how the kid treated their parents, but really, what were the priorities of the parents? When I walked in the house, was it the parents that were talking all the time, or was it the kid that was asking questions that I was recruiting? Because I never wanted to have a parent that was so overbearing that you felt like they were the ones that were being recruited instead of the kid. So I think parents, yeah, your upbringing is huge. You learn so much from your upbringing, from work ethic to, for me, my faith comes from my mom. I can tell you that right now. So I think that that's a huge part when it comes to that. And then the other part, I think, is just the work ethic part. And you mentioned it. I think kids that understand hard work and embrace hard work, the sky's the limit. You know, it's awfully hard to convince a lazy person that if they work hard, they're going to get better. They're wired that way.
Yeah.
So I think we're all wired a little bit differently. I know I'm a very process-oriented person. I'm meticulous about being on time. A lot of the little things that you learn being part of the team and being part of a coach that has standards and expectations. And I've always been one that had very high standards, very high expectations. And I wasn't. The biggest thing that I learned really, and I coach men and women, and I think you probably heard this, but men have to play good to feel good. Women have to feel good to play good.
Yes.
I spent a lot of my time teaching young kids how to feel good about themselves. And I think you can't deny that. And especially in today's world, there's even more challenges for our young people growing up with social media. See, a lot of my career, we didn't have to worry about social media. But today's social media it's a fact and it's real. There's a lot of kids that are suffering and have mental health problems because of the expectations that they're trying to reach, that someone else is channeling their thoughts on them. And I don't know how kids can do it. I don't even look at social media because there's nothing really good on it.
No. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what our kids live by.
Yeah.
The other day I was at a restaurant watching this couple eat, and both of them were on the phone the entire time, never said a word to each other.
Yeah.
And that's the difference right now. I grew up with a black and white TV with rabbit ears, man, and that was our entertainment.
Yeah.
And you know what? Our entertainment became going out and playing with our friends.
That's right.
And today you don't see
living
that.
outside. I had to be home in the dark, and that was it.
Yeah.
No one knew where I was for 12 hours of the day.
Yeah.
But they knew I was out doing something.
And you look at the parks today and they're empty.
They are.
You don't see kids.
For a college basketball coach, it kills me when I drive past the park and there's nobody playing on the courts.
No one playing hoops.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it when I walk outside of my neighborhood and I see dads and moms playing catch with their kids or kids playing catch, and it just brings joy to me.
Oh man, I remember taking a pasture and we made our own baseball field out of it. And you came home and you got your homework done, you got a chance to go play. And then everyone would end up being there, and you'd play wiffle ball, you'd play pickle. The things that we did to learn how to play the game was unbelievable, because all I had was a black and white TV to emulate the people that I watched.
That's
I
right.
didn't have any lessons.
Yeah.
I was self-taught, trial and error. And today this game is still trial and error. But unfortunately, people they want instant gratification, so they won't go through the trial and error.
I agree. And it's the part of me, it's why I'm even on social media, is I try and teach these things. And it's the reason I'm having these conversations with people like you. I feel like if social media is going to be a part of our world, I want to put something good into it. I want to put some good messages and some good ideas. And like you just did for me, I got to tell you, Coach, and I'm not pandering to you at all. I live for those moments when I'm having a conversation like this, where I could take something from it and go, I'm going to be a better coach because of that. So what you said, and I know this isn't earth shattering, but the way you said it and the way you came to it, you spent a lot of time helping kids learn how to feel good about themselves. I wish somebody would have told me that at 25 when I got my first head coaching job. I really do. I wish that would have been a part of the job description at the top. Your job, before we win games, before we practice swinging the bat, before we practice ground balls, we're going to talk about how do we make these kids feel good about themselves?
Yeah.
Not in an oversaturated way or saying, you're great, Betty, you're the best that's ever played, but what are you good at? Why do you
Absolutely.
want to be a good person? Why is it important for you to be a good teammate? I love
You know,
that.
and the other thing the Olympians were so good at was handling failure.
Yeah.
And I think that's another big lesson in life is failure is a positive thing. It depends on how you look at it, but you learn more from failure than you learn from success. And the game of softball is a game of failure.
Yeah.
And the game of life is a game of failure. It's about failure recovery. That's
Absolutely.
the way I look at it. I've had
Absolutely.
to recover from some very tough things in my life. And I had a choice to make whether I was going to take the high road with it or let it take the best of me. And I think today young kids they have some failure and they panic. They don't quite understand how that failure piece fits into their growth and their
Right.
development as a human being.
Who was the player you grew up admiring,
Mickey Mantle.
Mickey?
Yep. I didn't know a lot about his personal life, but I did like him as a player. And in fact, I have a whole Yankee room here in my house. And Mickey Mantle was my hero because when I was young, we had a black and white TV, and the only game you could really see was the Yankee game of the week.
Right.
And so I grew up being a diehard Yankee fan. We gravitated from White Plains, New York,
Okay. I was going to
to
ask
New
you.
Orleans, where I was born, because my dad was a jazz musician. And I grew up watching the Yankees. And to this day, the Yankees are still a big part of my life. I love it.
Fantastic. Do
Yeah.
you still play? Do you play any instruments?
I don't play. No, my dad died a frustrated man because he had 4 kids and none of us had any musical talent. It skipped a whole generation.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I was a basketball coach for 25 years, and none of my kids play basketball.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. I want to end this segment. I want to come back for segment 2, a real quick one, and just talk about who you were as a recruiter and give some advice to recruits and families going through that journey. And I know you've been out for a while.
Yeah.
Before we get into that segment, Coach, give a piece of advice to the youth coaches, the club coaches, the high school coaches out there that you think they just need to think about a little bit, make a bigger part of their world when they're building a team and running practices.
Well, the one thing that I always go back to my 3 C's, and not because of my last name, but the first thing I always wanted to be was competent. So if I could tell young coaches to be a student of the game and learn as much as they can, because the more information they have, the better information their kids are going to get. And that never ends. We constantly can get better. So be a student of the game and bring your kids the best information, because if you're going to teach the game, you got to understand the why. Why am I teaching this way? And I used to ask myself all the time, why do I hit the way I hit? Why do I throw the way I hit? And I want my kids to be able to understand that and explain that.
Right.
I think the second thing is consistency. Consistency, I think, is a huge part of championship environment. And you as an adult has to bring the consistency to your program. So young kids don't need drama. They don't need someone that's high one day and low the next day. They need someone that's got some emotional stability. And I think another thing that the Olympians had is those kids had emotional stability. They never got too high, never got too low. And then the third thing, probably the most important thing, is your kids have to know that you care about them as an individual. So coach the person, and then the athlete will come out. So if every conversation you have with your kids is about the game, then you're going down the wrong road. Find out how they feel. Find out how they're doing. Find out what they need from you. Ask more questions instead of talking too much.
Yeah.
I think is a huge thing. But to me, if I look at the kids that I coached, I'm proud about a couple things. Number one, I don't miss a birthday. The first thing I do every morning is I have birthdays in my planner. I text them a happy birthday, and that's kept me connected with them forever.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Part of their family. I'm
Yeah.
a part of their kids growing up. They send me pictures. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And to
Agreed.
me, that was one of the best things I realized is it takes just the little things to make kids feel like you cared about them. Because at the end of the day, championships don't change your life. I used to think that if I didn't win a championship, that I was a failure. And I realized I can't live my life that way because it's not quite that easy. And I realized the sun came up and went down the same way, whether I won or I didn't. So what can I control in my life that will make me feel good about what I'm doing?
That's right.
And that's why I always tell people I never worked a day in my life because I followed my passion. I look back at my career and I was so blessed that I picked something that I thoroughly enjoyed doing every day. And I never worried about the past. I never was a guy that worried too far ahead. I try to worry about today. How can I make today better? How can I get 1% better today? And if I can get 1% better today, then just imagine where I'm going to be 10 years from now. Yeah, those three things are, I think, important for any coach.
Those are gold, Coach. Thank you so much for being you, and thanks so much for saying yes to me and sharing your wisdom with us. If you're up for it, we'll come back, and those of you listening, come back on Monday, and we're going to talk a little bit of recruiting with Coach, pick his brain on how he recruited and what he's seeing in there. Thanks, Coach.
You bet.
What an absolute gift of a conversation. Anytime you have the chance to learn from someone who has led at the highest levels for as long as Coach Candrea has, you walk away changed. His humility, his clarity, and his ability to balance unbelievable competitive success with his deep care for people. That's what great leadership looks like. I hope this episode challenged you, encouraged you, and gave you a fresh perspective on what it really means to build a program and a life centered on significance. Don't forget to come back on Monday for part 2 of my conversation with Coach Candrea, where we shift the conversation to college recruiting. It's a good one. If you're a school, a club, or an organization looking for help with recruiting education, leadership development, or creating healthier and more effective teams, you can schedule a strategy session with me anytime at CoachMattRogers.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting this community. And thank you for continuing to invest in your growth as a leader. Until next time, stay focused on what you can control. Stay humble and keep chasing significance.